Pre-calcers, pre-lesson, 1-5, last lesson of Unit 1. Hopefully you've been tracking little by little by little. I know this is new. I know it kind of comes at you hard, but reach out to me if you have more questions, please. And also, we got to be close to getting back in school, I hope, too. So I think that will help most of you. If you're in here and you can really ask questions and feel comfortable asking questions. But just to get started, on page 41 is where section 1.5 actually starts. And you've got some graphing opportunities for tangent, cotangent, secant, cosecant. And this isn't a cop-out. I'm not trying to just do less, but once we went to trimesters, we cut these out. We just didn't have time. But if you're curious about it, check them out on Desmos.com and type them in and see what you get and see if you can figure out why the graph is what it is. And I'll give you some bonus points if you can figure out why tangent has some areas where the graph doesn't cross it. Same thing with cotangent, and why is secant the way it is and why is cosecant the way it is. I'll throw some bonus points your way. So I'm not a big fan of bonuses, but I'll make an exception. And today's pre-lesson is slightly different. Today's pre-lesson, I'm actually going to tackle example 1 from your packet lesson. So I'm just going to kind of iron out the wrinkles so that once I get to the packet lesson, I can actually just do them. So, but this is the why behind my explanation when you watch the packet lesson next. Hope that makes sense. So here's example 1. It says, solve for x if sine of x is equal to 1/2 and x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to pi over 2. So this is a really good, likely ACT, SAT college entry exam type of problem because it's got so much going on in one little question. The first hint I'm going to give you is I think it would be easier for you if this actually was theta. Because a lot of you, when it says find x, you're so brainwashed as far as algebra goes, you're thinking it's probably a number. And that's going to lead you off the path immediately. When you see it like this, sine of x, or cosine of x, or tangent of x, because it's in that position, it is always asking you find the angle where the rest of these clues are true. So when you see x in this situation, just understand it's the angle. In other words, it's asking you, if I have my spinner, where do I have to spin it so that all of these clues are true? So with that being in mind, that being said, I need you guys to think about it this way. So I am literally going to take those x's out and replace them with thetas, because that's really what you're doing. You're finding out how far do you have to spin your spinner for this to be true and this to be true. And by the way, this we're going to call clue number 1, because this is very helpful. Because they're saying if you spin your spinner greater than or equal to 0, so here's your spinner, and you got to spin it greater than 0 degrees, but less than or equal to pi over 2. What's that? 90. That means you have to stay in the first quadrant. Remember, all students take calc. And here's a clue over here. It says sine is positive 1/2. So in other words, this clue right here is getting rid of these 3 quadrants. And there's another clue that says sine is positive 1/2, which we know all things are positive in the first quadrant. So things are looking good. But now we need to get a little bit more precise. Here's a hidden clue here. It says sine is 1/2. That's a little sneaky way of saying, hey, the opposite side is 1, the hypotenuse is 2. Because remember what sine is? It's so opposite over hypotenuse. So they're telling you, let the opposite side be 1, let the hypotenuse be 2. Well, that can only happen In this situation, where this is a 30, that's a 60, and that's 90, and this is the square root of 3. Now, we don't really care about the square root of 3 because our sign is opposite over hypotenuse. So how far do we have to spin our spinner? Well, it's got a greater than 0, less than 90. We spun it 30 degrees. So our answer is theta is 30 degrees, which is just pi over 6. If they ask you to answer it in radians and degrees, you just make the adjustment. That's your pre-lesson. Now let's dive into those packet problems.